Good afternoon. Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Health and Human Services. Would the Secretary please take the roll?
Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Here. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Here. Assemblyman Gray. Here. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblyman Hibbets. Here. Assemblyman Koenig. Here. Assemblywoman Newby. Here. Assemblyman Wynn. Here. Assemblyman Orentlicker. Here. Assemblywoman Taylor. Present. Assemblywoman Thomas. Here. Chair Peters.
And I am here. Please mark members in attendance when they arrive. Before we begin, I would like to make several housekeeping announcements. First of all, please silence your cell phones. I forgot to do it this morning, you all, so this is generally a reminder for myself. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in lieu thereof. Written public comment may be submitted before, during, or up to 24 hours after the meeting's adjournment. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and leave a business card so we get an accurate record of your name. If you do not testify, you may also want to sign in there so that we have a record of who's interested in particular bills in the event a committee needs to contact you later. To ensure an orderly flow of discussion, all comments, questions, and responses must go through me. Also, committee members must be recognized by me before you can speak. Additionally, I ask our presenters on Zoom to leave your cameras off and microphones muted until it's your turn to present, or if I direct questions to you. And when testifying in person, please remember to turn on your microphone to speak and off to listen so we don't get a reverb through the various areas where we have people speaking. And with that, we will move on to our agenda. We have 3 bills on the agenda today. I don't believe all are presented by our fabulous cohort here. So I will ask that Assemblywoman Gorlow make her way to the table. We're going to go ahead and take things out of order in an attempt to ensure that a group of folks who would like to be here in support of one of these bills is able to make it. They have been battling the weather on their way up to Reno. So we're going to start with the hearing on Assembly Bill 215. Yeah, sorry, we're taking it almost in reverse order. So I open the hearing on Assembly Bill 215. This measure revises the residency requirements for appointment as a member on the Nevada Silver-Haired Legislative Forum. We have Assemblywoman Gorlow. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Peters and members of the Health and Human Service Committee. As she said, my name is Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, representing Assembly District 13. And with me today is Fran Alvarez. As you notice, AB 215 is very short, so we're hoping to make this one of the shortest presentations in today's session. Current law requires a prospective forum member to be a voter in his or her respective senatorial district for 3 years immediately prior to his or her appointment. This bill would reduce the number of years to 1 year in order to be eligible to serve on the forum. This was brought to us because with the redistricting, there are many members who are no longer in their current senator or their previous senatorial district. So that's why we're having the change for the residency requirements. And Ms. Alvarez can tell you a little bit more about the forum.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Fran Alvarez. I am president of the Nevada Silver-Haired Legislative Forum. As a brief overview, the Nevada Silver-Haired Legislative Forum was created in 1997 to identify and act upon issues of importance to aging persons. The forum strives to promote inclusive government by directly involving seniors in the legislative process. It is comprised of up to 21 members nominated by state senators for appointment by the Legislative Commission. Pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes 427A.340, there are 3 requirements to be met in order for an individual to be eligible to serve on the forum. First, the individual must be a resident of the state for 5 years immediately prior to his or her appointment. Second, he or she must be a registered voter in his or her respective senatorial district for 3 years immediately prior to the appointment. Third, he or she must be at least 60 years of age on the day he or she is appointed. Forum members participate at public meetings, ask questions of the presenters, and discuss agenda items for future consideration. In the past, the forum has studied senior issues such as respite care for caregivers, improvement in the provision of long-term care services, protection of seniors from abuse and neglect, and homelessness among seniors in Nevada. The forum may submit one bill draft request to each regular legislative session. This session, the forum's bill is Senate Bill 45, which aims to increase the personal needs allowance for certain residents in skilled nursing facilities in our state. I did want to, one more thing, I wanted to call your attention to this. It should be in your packet. It shows how many of the forum members are no longer eligible in the district where they have been appointed because of redistricting. By changing the rule from 3 years in your district to 1 year, by the time the forum meets again, they will be eligible because it will be 1 year from the time of redistricting until we meet again. Thank you.
With that, I guess we're open for questions. Sorry, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Are there questions from the committee? Please go ahead, Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to thank you for bringing this correction to the redistricting, because I know there's been numerous issues with redistricting. Were there any other alternatives considered to correcting some of the redistricting issues?
For the record, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, what other issues are you referring to?
Just if the silver-haired legislative forum is the only body that was being affected by the redistricting, or if there were other organizations that you've been working with similar issues that need to be addressed also.
I think we're going to stick with the context of this bill. I appreciate the question. We're going to go ahead and stick with the issue at hand, which is ensuring that we have representatives from our silver-haired forum. Are there any other questions from the committee pertinent to the bill at hand? I have one question. Is there are there folks who would be at a disadvantage due to this bill change? I can't think of one, but wondering if you guys had thought of if anyone might be at a disadvantage due to this change.
Fran Alvarez, President of the Forum, for the record. I can't think of any. I think the disadvantage is that they are no longer currently in the district that they were nominated for. And in order to correct that, the district that they are in now, they wouldn't be in that district for 3 years.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two-part question just for my own edification. Number one, who presides over the Silver-Haired Forum? And number two, how often does it meet?
Oh, okay. We have staff offering to respond to the question based on their knowledge of staffing that particular committee.
For the record, Patrick Ashton from the Legislative Council Bureau. During the past interim and 5 years ago, I staffed the forum as a policy analyst. So the forum is comprised of members that are nominated by state senators and appointed by the Legislative Commission. And then among its members, the forum elects certain forum officers, and among these officers is Forum President Fran Almaraz here today, who presides over forum meetings and has a similar role like the chair of a legislative committee. Meetings depend on the budget, and every budget cycle, the forum gets a certain budget for per diem allowances and travel expenses. And based on that, the forum can meet as much or less they want. During the past interims, it has varied from not meeting at all during the COVID-19 pandemic to up to having 5 or 6 meetings during the interim. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ashton.
Thank you for the question. Are there any other questions from the committee? Serious question? Oh, I did. I asked staff. So we don't have a copy of that list that you presented us. So I asked staff if they could get that printed for us. So I'll have them send that around as soon as we have it. Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. We're going to go ahead and go into testimony. We will hear support, opposition, and neutral testimony. I have been limiting support, opposition, and neutral testimony to 20 minutes apiece, and adjusting as we need per bill, just as a fair warning in case we get that much interest in this particular bill. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name and limit your testimony to 2 minutes so that we have some fairness. Staff will be timing each speaker to ensure everyone is given a fair opportunity to speak. We will begin testimony in support of Assembly Bill 215. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to present support testimony on Assembly Bill 215? Is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 215? BPS, is there anyone on the call line that would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 215?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 215, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 215, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to participate at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move into opposition testimony for Assembly Bill 215. Is there anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 215? Seeing no one in Carson City and no one approaching the desk in Las Vegas, I'd ask BPS to check the public line for anyone who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 215.
Caller, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 215, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to participate at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 215 in either Carson City or Las Vegas? Seeing no one in Carson City and no one in Las Vegas for neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 215, I would ask BPS to check the public line for neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 215.
Callers, if you'd like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 215, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. I would like to invite the Assemblywoman to provide closing remarks if she would like. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Peters. Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow. And no, I think that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. I'll go ahead and close the bill hearing on Assembly Bill 215, and we'll move on to Assembly Bill 169. We'll open the hearing on Assembly Bill 169. Assemblywoman Gorlow is presenting this bill with us, and she has a colleague to present with her. Please go ahead. Remember to state your name for the record, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Peters. Again, Michelle Gorlow, representing Assembly District 13, not 13, sorry, 35. Many years ago, it was 13. But anyways, I'm here for Assembly Bill 169, and it's revising provisions governing the labeling of feminine hygiene products. And with me today is Kelsey Lamp, who brought this issue to my attention. I'll provide you with some background information, then Ms. Lamp will provide you with some additional information. So Assembly Bill 169 requires that each package or box containing a feminine hygiene product for sale or distribution in Nevada must bear a label containing a plain and conspicuous list of all ingredients in the feminine hygiene product. Feminine hygiene products such as tampons, pads, and menstrual cups come in contact with some of the most sensitive areas of a female body. And the National Conference of State Legislatures describes these products as hygiene materials used to catch blood flow during the menstrual cycle, typically from puberty until menopause. And I'm going to go off script for a little bit and just say, one of my guilty pleasures is court TV. And many times we'll see, well, when I'm watching, I see a lot of ads for lawyers who will say, have you ever been exposed to, please contact us because you could be receiving compensation. And one of those products is talc, which has been in feminine products for many years, but is known to cause ovarian cancer. So that was part of one of the reasons why we brought this legislation up, because, and you should have received, if not, we'll make sure you get this as well, a list of chemicals of concern in feminine care products. So if you don't have this, we'll make sure that you do get a copy of it. Many of these chemicals can cause rashes, irritation, and have been known to link to cancer. They're carcinogens as well. So by requiring manufacturers to disclose all ingredients, customers can be informed of any potential risks associated with using a particular product. It also provides consumers with the opportunity to make informed decisions about the feminine hygiene products they use. With full disclosure of ingredients, consumers can also compare products and choose the one that align with their personal preferences and values. This can create a demand for products that are made with natural or organic ingredients, which can lead to increased competition among manufacturers to produce safer and more sustainable products. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ms. Lamp.
Good afternoon, Chair Peters and committee members. For the record, I am Kelsey Lamp, a second-year law student at the William S. Boyd School of Law. I originally began this project as a class assignment, but as I did more research, I discovered the severity of dangers associated with certain feminine products. Just this past month, the Inc. settled a class lawsuit after a third party discovered toxic chemicals in their Better For You underwear. The presence of certain ingredients in feminine products can cause harmful side effects to its users, and often these side effects only appear due to how the product interacts with the body. The products come in contact with the vaginal tissue, which is made up of mucous membrane. Unlike something you swallow, substances that come in contact with the vagina do not go through the body's typical elimination and metabolic processes. Instead, tampon chemicals are absorbed by the mucosa and from there can pass almost directly into the bloodstream. I am a childhood leukemia survivor. My mother is a thyroid cancer survivor. My great-grandmother was a breast cancer survivor. So I deeply understand how illness can disrupt and devastate lives. While illness can strike for no good reason and by no cause but bad luck, some of the products that menstruators use regularly to get them through their daily life when they are bleeding have the potential to cause short and long-term health issues. To name a few, ulcers, rashes, endocrine disruption, reproductive toxicity, and cancer. Per the Federal Drug and Cosmetic Act, the FDA categorizes menstrual products as medical devices. Therefore, the products do not have to be labeled with their ingredients. Any recommendations the FDA makes about chemical levels are simply recommendations and they do not have to be followed. The purpose of this policy is to provide information so females can make informed decisions about what they put in their bodies. With this added transparency, it is our hope there will be an increased demand for products with natural ingredients. So far, only 2 other states have passed this legislation, California and New York. I believe AB 169 presents a wonderful, important way for Nevada to show it supports female reproductive health and transparent consumer choice. I echo everything Assemblywoman Gorlow has said, and we welcome any questions. Thank you.
And with that, Chair Peters, we're open for questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate your passion on the issue and your involvement bringing it into a bill. We really appreciate that kind of the gumption from the general public. It makes a huge difference in this body. I have a couple of questions, but again, please flag me down if I don't catch you before that. Assemblywoman Gonzalez, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Cecilia Gonzalez, District 16. So I just have two questions. One of them you already, or three, I guess. One you already answered. My first question, so I'm looking at the effective date of January 1 of next year. And just in your feedback and working on this, is that enough time for manufacturers who manufacture these products to Nevada to get these labels and boxes all together? And then in hand with that, if because it's actually an interesting question, right? Like, I don't think we talk about how long a product in this sphere has like been on the shelf, for example, right? You're talking like cotton that doesn't really like expire, right? And then I'm looking at the list of all these all these chemicals that are in there, and wow, it's crazy how I'm 31 and I'm still learning so much about my health. And then my other question is, are we outlawing the chemicals, or we're just stating like you have to state that? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman. For the record, Michelle Gorlow, representing Assembly District 35. We felt that January 1st of 25 gave manufacturers sufficient time. 24? I thought it was 24 or 25. Sorry, let me.
Section 5B.
Yeah, looking at the bill, we've got 2 effective upon passage and approval, and then section 1 through 4 becomes effective upon passage and approval for adopting regulations, and then January 1 for all other purposes of 2024, sorry.
Okay, sorry. I've got a lot of bill stuff in front of me. I can't find that particular one. It's just a one-sheeter, so I apologize.
There are 2 time frames. There, in section 3, there is each package containing a feminine hygiene product manufactured on or after 2025 for sale or distribution, and then the purpose of the bill goes into effect in 2024. So that might be a legal question, I guess, on the implications of those different timeframes, but they drafted it, so we can ask them. Again, we don't have legal in the room right now because they're busy dutifully drafting bills, but we can follow up with them on that.
And part 2 of your question, again, for the record, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, we're not outlawing these chemicals. We just want them labeled so that people will be aware of what they are, just so that, you know, if you know you've got a sensitivity to a certain chemical, then you could avoid that product.
Thank you for the question. I have Assemblyman Nguyen next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think it was along the line of that last question that you answered, Assemblywoman Gorlow. Oftentimes we've seen things like, for example, on cigarette packages or on certain other products that said, hey, general warning, using this product may cause X number or whatever cancer, insert it here. Are there thoughts of eventually doing that as well, that outside of just listing the ingredients, that you also can have that disclaimer like, hey, use this product, this ingredient may cause cancer? I don't know if that's something that you were also thinking of maybe down in the future.
Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, for the record. That is a great question, and it's something we have thought about. I think right now the research is a little early to find out. We know that there are some carcinogens and irritants, but to say that it, I guess, we haven't been there yet. We wanted to do this first. But I could add that.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Chair, to that. Yeah, so that's what I guess I wanted to give maybe an input on revision, is just adding that piece where it's flexible enough so that in the future, if that is something that we can, I guess, elaborate, that would help so that we don't have to worry about, going back and clean this up.
Thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll make that amendment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that suggestion. Assemblywoman Taylor, have you next?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblywoman Gorlow. And thank you so much. Congratulations and make a student project something that could become a bill. That's pretty special. So congratulations for that. My question is, excuse me. My question is, so you mentioned there are two other states, California and New York, that have done this. Now, are you aware at all of how they did it? Did they just require the manufacturer? Did they have to like produce a whole new box, or did they have to put a sticker on there, or something like that? Because it seems as though maybe some of the boxes that are coming out now don't list all of the chemicals, and that's obviously the problem. So do you know how they would have to respond? I'm just thinking in terms of certainly once the date thing is worked out, there's time for them to respond, but just what would it take on their end so that we don't end up with a limited supply of feminine products in the meantime?
Kelsey Lamp for the record. I believe that the manufacturers in those states had 18 months. I believe that was in New York, and then they just now started this in California at the beginning of this year. I believe that they had to start new printing on the boxes. I am not completely sure about that, and I don't know what they did if they had leftover product. Maybe they're just not sending it there anymore, but I'm not for sure.
Okay, may I follow up just for clarity, Chair, please? Thank you. So it sounds as though really they have to produce new boxes, and maybe the other ones have to just go to other states, perhaps, then, right? Okay. And my follow-up piece would be, did all of them comply? Do we have any idea? I mean, those are pretty big markets for them to not be able to do business in, both California and New York, you would think, so. To your knowledge?
Kelsey Lamp for the record. I am not sure if every brand has complied or if they've decided just not to sell in those two states.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't know if you went over this in your presentation. I cannot remember, but there has been a lot of news around a specific brand of period underwear containing PFAS that has these are menstrual underwear that I was inclined to get for my child when she starts her menstrual cycle because of how non-invasive they are as a menstrual maintenance and environmentally friendly product. And it was very concerning that there was not a list, or at least an independent validating entity that could look at what products are being treated with and sold in this market. So I think that that's where a lot of this interest area has come up from, is those independent studies that have been conducted. I have a couple questions, I believe, from Assemblyman Hafen next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my colleague actually just asked my question about the other states' date of implementation. But you mentioned that you're not sure if they're selling the products there or not. Is that information that you could follow up with us and provide to determine whether or not sellers or distributors are actually leaving those markets? And then my other question, and I appreciate Madam Chair allowing me to, is I do know there are some smaller businesses that sell, more in the niche market. Was a small business impact statement conducted to determine if there was going to be any?
So the small business impact assessments are done on regulations, so it would be after the regulations were conducted. But to the other point of your question, please go ahead.
Perfect. I think they nodded their head yes, so just confirm it on the record.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, for the record. We'll have to look and discuss with the other states if they had any disruptions in their markets.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the committee who has a question? Yes, Assemblywoman Thomas, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation on this much-needed legislation dealing with feminine products. I think as far as, when this bill came out and after reading and everything, I am really pretty sure that already products come with warning labels. They come with, advising. They even come with instructions on how to use that product. Take, for instance, tampons. At one time, I believe it was back in the 80s, we had that shock what is it called? Yes. So we know that that's there. So, in addressing my colleague, Assemblyman Nguyen, I was just wondering, are we giving too much information when it's already in there?
For the record, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, I don't think you could ever give too much information to anybody. They do still have information in the packets that do talk about the toxic shock syndrome, and that's still a concern for women. But in many of these cases, there's still chemicals within the product that can cause irritation, allergic reactions, and as I mentioned, in the case of talc, can cause ovarian cancer and death.
Follow up, Chair. Thank you so much for that then. So you want to just give the chemical reactions of the products or the makeup of the product, not, addressing more instructions or anything like that, just what the chemical base is made of, if I'm understanding you correctly.
For the record, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, yes, we want to list the chemicals. You see some of the products that are listing to make us smell better. There's perfumes that are doing that. There are chemicals that are doing that. What do those chemicals do? What can they do to people? A lot of people are very sensitive, just in that case, to fragrances. And so listing that chemical, you'll have a more informed choice on whether or not that's a product you should use.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. That actually brings up a question of the difference between chronic and acute exposure. And did you think about so we in the science world, and I'm sorry, I am a scientist. I am one of those people who looks this stuff up for fun, it's part of how I live my life. So I get a little bit in the weeds on it. But when you're talking about this particular issue, the type of products that are being used, we're talking typically about sustained use over long periods of time, over an extended life in some cases. And when we're talking about toxicity, we have two categories, right? There's chronic toxicity and acute toxicity. And in the case of products treated for with chemicals that are not known to cause acute symptoms, they often are used in products with specific labeling on only wear for 8 hours or limit exposure for this period of time, because we have some sense of that acuteness. But can you talk a little bit about how that played into your interest in this bill?
Kelsey Lamp, for the record. I think my interest first stemmed from I had heard that some of the chemicals that are in these products can make your period last longer or more painful, or so on and so forth. And then as I did more research, I saw that there's possibly, ulcers, which is a short-term thing. You stop using the tampon, the ulcers will go away. But then there are these long-term effects, such as reproductive issues and cancer and so forth. So I don't know as much about the chronic and acute toxicity and how the chemicals work exactly. But yeah, I became interested in these chronic issues. I think we see a lot of women are having reproductive issues, and it makes you wonder if there's a connection. I don't know that there is. I'm not putting that on the record, but I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it was it's actually a question for the science that's happening right now, which we're really kind of at the infant stages of science around women's anatomy and the impact of the chemicals and materials we use as women. So I guess it's more of a question, kind of a thought on what we're looking at scientifically and why. Really, I guess inclined to my colleague's question, Assemblyman Nguyen, about at what point do we talk about warning labels, and at what point does the science get to that scenario? So, are there other questions from the committee on this bill? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move in. I have one more pertinent to the. Okay, Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for being ignorant on this subject. And I'm just kind of Googling the labels that are current, and in some states they have the warning of the toxic shock syndrome, and then it says to, please read the enclosed information. Are you proposing that the chemical names that are on this list all be included on the label itself, or included on the inside of the box on a letter that, they could take this and fold this and stick it in there? I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand what's going on the box versus what's going on the inside in the pamphlet.
Thank you very much. For the record, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, we're looking for it to be listed on the box so a person can make an informed decision prior to purchasing the item.
Thank you for the question. Anything else from the committee? All right, we will move into testimony. We are going to go ahead and start in support. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record and limit your testimony to 2 minutes. Staff will be timing each speaker to ensure a fair opportunity to speak. I will begin with testimony in support of Assembly Bill 169. First, we'll go to Carson City and Las Vegas, and then we'll move to the phones. Is there anybody in support of Assembly Bill 169? Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
My name is Barry Cole, Barrycole. I'm in support of AB 169. And a couple of comments I'd just like to make that natural, be careful of that word. Cyanide and asbestos are natural. You wouldn't want a tampon made out of either of those products. I think beyond just having a list of ingredients, I folded this sheet because unless you're a chemist, you have no idea what these things are. Perhaps there's going to need to be an amendment for definitions of what these elements could actually do to someone. And remember, when we talk about menstrual products, we're describing half of all the citizens of Nevada using these products for literally decades in most cases. And yes, toxic shock syndrome was real, and it involved not organic cotton being used, but as I recall, it was a synthetic polyester material that was used in the tampon. But the real caveat is, it doesn't matter what it's made out of, if it's left in too long, that's the problem with toxic shock. So we need to really think about how long these products are being used per unit. And then finally, remember last summer we went through a whole period where we were short of menstrual products in the United States. So make sure that when we put this bill into implementation that the manufacturers are going to cooperate. The good news is we're next to California. Whatever they're shipping west from Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, I guess it'll get short-stopped in Nevada on its way to California. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
For the record, my name is Taylor Sawyer, and I am here to testify in support of AB 169. People who menstruate deserve to know what they are putting in their bodies, and companies have an ethical responsibility to make this information readily and plainly available. Ingredients in some tampons include polypropylene, polyethylene, polyester, glycerin, paraffin, ethoxylated fatty acid esters, PEG 100 stearate, and titanium dioxide. That means nothing to me. And to me, plain language means making sure that consumers are able to understand what they are putting into their bodies. It's time to take women's health seriously. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 169? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 169? Seeing none, BPS, is there anyone on the public line who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 169?
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 169, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 169, please press star 9 now.
Good morning or good afternoon. This is Dora Martinez, the founder of the Nevada Disability Action Coalition, and we are wholeheartedly supportive of this amazing common sense bill, and we thank you, the sponsor, for this. And I won't have my dog read the box, but I do have an app that can read it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for your call. And is there anyone else on the public line to testify in support of Assembly Bill 169?
Chair, there are no other callers to participate at this time.
We'll go ahead and move into opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 169. Is there anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 169? Seeing none, BPS, is there anyone on the public line who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 169?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 169, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 169, please press star 9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move into neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 169. Is there anyone in Carson City or Las Vegas who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 169? Seeing none in Carson City and none in Las Vegas, BPS, is there anyone on the public line who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 169?
Callers, if you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 169, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite the sponsor of the bill to come up for closing remarks if you'd like. Please remember to state your name for the record.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow, for the record. And no, just thank you so much for the opportunity to hear this bill, and I will provide some follow-up information as soon as I receive it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 169, and we will move on to our next Assemblywoman Gorlow bill, Assembly Bill 137. I'm going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 137. This measure revises provisions related to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. And my understanding is we have some folks who are trying to make it up into the building. I don't know where they are yet, but I sure hope that they are able to make it. If not, they have 24 hours to provide their testimony on this hearing. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Chair Peters. And for the record, I am still Assemblywoman Michelle Gorlow. I have two people who are supposed to be joining me by Zoom, so I want to just double check and make sure that they're able to connect. It would be Dr. Julie Beasley and Mr. Brian Hager. Wonderful, there they are. Here. Thank you so much. I am pleased to present to you Assembly Bill 137, which revises provisions related to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. This is an interim committee bill originating from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. And as I mentioned, I have Dr. Julie Beasley. She's a child neuropsychologist and director of the UNLV Ackerman Autism Center, and also Mr. Brian Hager, president of the Grant a Gift Autism Foundation at the Ackerman Autism Center. So thank you both for being here today. Assembly Bill 137 stems from a recommendation from the HHS Interim Committee, which was solicited by the Grant a Gift Autism Foundation, Children's Advocacy Alliance of Nevada, and the Nevada chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. At its final meeting and work session last year in August, the HHS Interim Committee voted unanimously to propose the bill before you today. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, or in short FASD, refers to a range or spectrum of adverse developmental conditions that can occur in an individual who is prenatally exposed to alcohol. Included in the spectrum are fetal alcohol syndrome, which is FAS, partial fetal alcohol syndrome, PFAS, alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorder, and alcohol-related birth defects. Fetal alcohol syndrome is typically considered the most severe form of FASD. Any FASD can cause a range of physical, mental, behavioral, and learning difficulties in individuals that can last a lifetime. However, there are still provisions in Nevada Revised Statute that only reference fetal alcohol syndrome, but not all the other conditions that pertain to the spectrum. Additionally, FASD are not part of the definition of a developmental disorder in Nevada laws. Defining FASD as developmental disabilities is important for several reasons. First, it acknowledges that FASD are conditions that affect a person's ability to learn and develop skills. By recognizing FASD as developmental disabilities, affected people can access certain supports and services that can help them achieve their potential and improve their quality of life. It helps to destigmatize FASD. When people understand that FASD are developmental disabilities, they are less likely to blame the individual for their difficulties and more likely to recognize that the conditions are a result of prenatal alcohol exposure. It may also assist with early diagnosis and intervention. By identifying FASD as developmental disabilities, healthcare professionals can be more proactive in screening for the conditions and providing early interventions supports to support affected individuals and their families. Assembly Bill 137 is aiming to fix these issues by doing three things. First, it replaces the term fetal alcohol syndrome in NRS Chapter 442 relating to maternal and child health with the definition of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, as set forth in Chapter 432B of NRS. There, FASD is defined as a continuum of birth defects caused by maternal consumption of alcohol during pregnancy. The term includes, without limitation, fetal alcohol syndrome. Second, the bill expands the applicability of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders to multiple existing provisions in Chapter 442 that currently reference fetal alcohol syndrome. Third, AB 137 adds fetal alcohol spectrum disorders to the definition of a developmental disability in NRS Chapter 435. This definition, among other provisions, applies to services for individuals with developmental disabilities as a neurological condition that manifests before a person attains the age of 22 years, is likely to continue indefinitely, and results in substantial functional limitations. Chair Peters, that concludes my remarks, and we can go ahead to our Zoom presentation.
Please go ahead when you're ready. Remember to say your name for the record.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm Dr. Julie Beasley. I'm a child neuropsychologist and clinical director here at Grant to Gift Autism Foundation, Ackerman Center. I am a Nevadan. I was raised in Las Vegas. I attended UNLV, and I returned back to Las Vegas after my PhD to live and work in our community. And I have been in practice here in Las Vegas for 24 years. The Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Diagnostic Clinic started in Southern Nevada in 2005 by geneticist Dr. Colleen Morris, by developmental behavioral pediatrician Dr. Joanna Fricke, and myself. We have been working to meet the needs of children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders and their families since that time. First, understanding that FAS is a spectrum reflects the multiple factors, including, but not limited to, the timing, the amount, the maternal health and substance use history, which places our babies at very high risk for fetal alcohol spectrum disorders who are prenatally exposed during pregnancy. Alcohol is the most damaging teratogen within the drug and alcohol substance category to the prenatally developing brain. FASD incidence is set at 5% of the population. From the 2020 Nevada census data, approximately 33,000 babies were born that year, and with a 5% incident, that indicates that 1,650 babies were born with prenatal alcohol exposure. The Nevada 2020 census data also indicates that there are over 760,000 children under the age of 19, and with the 5% of Nevada children being exposed to alcohol, that number is 38,000, and likely, not only are they exposed, they're likely to have some type of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Additionally, the use of alcohol and other substances increased significantly over the COVID-19 pandemic. These children and adolescents and adults are here in Nevada, and they have many are in need of developmental, behavioral, and mental health care and special education services. Children with FASD are more often in the foster care system. They're being raised by family members, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, or they're adopted. These kids are in our programs currently. They're in mental health, special education, foster care, the juvenile justice system, and developmental services. The early and accurate place for services for these children and families are in developmental services. Those of us who work with these children have a responsibility to help advocate for these children who are in the care of our state systems. FASD is recognized as a leading cause of developmental disability and specifically a primary cause of intellectual disability in youth. FASD disorders are lifelong physical, behavioral, and intellectual disabilities caused by the prenatal alcohol exposure. We sought to change the outdated language within the Nevada Revised Statute to determine eligibility and provide services for children with FASD under developmental services. Developmental services is the primary program to reflect the needs in our state and to help provide the programs that our children and families need that our children and families with FASD require. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there questions from the committee? Please, Assemblywoman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. This is something that I believe our state actually has to emphasize because it is a problem. I was just wondering, though, within this bill, if you use the definition from the DSM-5 for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, if you use that within this bill.
So as a medical,
I ask you
the
to
primary
remember to
medical
state your name for
diagnostics-
the record for us, please? Sorry,
Sorry.
it helps us with our
I'm sorry. This is
transcription.
Dr. Julie Beasley. And the primary diagnostic tools that we're using are the ICD-10, which is the medical diagnostic criteria that we use. And in the DSM-5, it is listed as prenatal alcohol exposure. It's a little confusing. So we're using the ICD-10, again, catching really how it's diagnosed as fetal alcohol syndrome, partial fetal alcohol syndrome, and then alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorder. That is the spectrum. And it's really important diagnostically to understand that those distinctions have to do with the first trimester exposure to alcohol that results in facial characteristics that are specific to FAS. However, the brain develops every day. I'm sure we know this. The brain develops every day, and that impact to alcohol happens for the whole pregnancy, which is why we're talking about a spectrum. Okay, so a child may have partial fetal alcohol syndrome. That's because they didn't have as much possibly, or how the exposure was in the first 3 months, but they could still have exposure throughout the whole pregnancy, which creates significant central nervous system disorders that we're talking about. So that's why we're moving from that, fetal alcohol syndrome to a spectrum.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. Are there other questions from the committee? Assemblywoman Newby.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you for presenting this bill. Looking at Section 7, subsection 5, adding a fetal alcohol spectrum disorder to the list of developmental disabilities, I recognize that it references NRS 435.007, which is persons with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. And I assume that this is the area where it would give access to a certain number of services to those suffering from fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And so I'm wondering, what are some examples of those additional services or access points that could now, if this bill is passed, be accessed by these individuals? Thank you.
Dr. Julie Beasley for the record. So through developmental services, we're looking for the early diagnosis, early intervention. We're looking for respite services for family members, parent training for family members when they're younger. This is a lifelong disability, so we're looking for those individuals with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder who qualify to receive adult services, including housing and all of the processes that developmental services provide for the lifespan, for our lifespan population. The reality is there's often comorbid conditions, so they are often can have fetal alcohol syndrome and an intellectual disability as well. About 50% of our children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders also have intellectual disability, but it also means that 50% do not have that. So they don't meet the intellectual disability criteria to receive developmental services as it's written, and so it expands to those children who still have exposure and have significant mental health, behavioral health, developmental health issues that are best served through the developmental services and in a lifespan process. I hope that answered some of that.
Thank you for the response. We got an affirmative here that answered the question. Are there other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into testimony on the bill. Thank you so much. For testimony, we will start with support in Carson City and Las Vegas and then move to the phones. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name and limit your testimony to 2 minutes. Staff will be timing each speaker to ensure everyone is given a fair opportunity to speak. We will begin here in support on Assembly Bill 137. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
My name is Barry Coles, B-A-R-R-Y-C-O-L-E. I'm in support of AB 137. I appreciate that it now defines a physician as a psychiatrist. Sometimes we feel like stepchildren with red hair. I'd like to remind us that there was a time where people used books. Now you practice medicine on a smartphone. I just checked 2 databases I have. One for prescribing is called Hippocrates, and it has a whole definitional article all about the transition in terminology to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Second database I just checked, up to date. It's literally within the last 30 days, up to date. That's what they do. They also have a definitive article on this particular topic. Please remember that these are not just children, but these are children who grow up to be adults carrying forward lifelong disability. This is a tragic and sad and preventable problem had mom not been a drinker during the pregnancy. I really encourage you to look at what the bill discusses, including involving our 2 University of Nevada campuses. I'd also include Toro in that as well. Anything that anybody can do will be helpful for public education. Already there's efforts on behalf of the Nevada Psychiatric Association to do bilingual English and Spanish cartoon presentations for public service announcements to make this commonly available information for everyone. So this is a broad spectrum problem, and preview of coming attractions, we'll someday be having a committee about cannabis use during pregnancy. I hate to tell you that, but I think it's inevitable. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Jonathan Norman, N-O-R-M-A-N. I'm with the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers, which includes Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada and Northern Nevada Legal Aid. We represent kids in foster care at any given time. We have between 3,000 and 4,000 children we're actively representing. And I would say fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is something we deal with all the time, and we're getting kids often after they should have already been in and receiving services. And the trajectory that not getting those services early puts on a kid's life is they're going to interface with the Department of Juvenile Justice, and they're probably going to interface with the adult correction system if we don't identify early and get them the services they need. So I echo everything the Ackerman Center said, and I want to thank you for your consideration of this bill, and I want to thank Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there others who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 137? Please go ahead. And please remember to state your name for the record before you begin.
For the record, my name is Grace Larkins, Gracelarkins. I am a family navigator with the University Center for Excellence in Disabilities, and I am here speaking now, not representing them, but as a parent of a child with intellectual disability and profound developmental disability overall. I hadn't intended to speak, but knowing that there's parents that couldn't make it, I'm trying to think from where they're coming from, and I know exactly where they're coming from. So many of these things overlap. As Dr. Beasley said, comorbid conditions and diagnoses are prevalent, and you're going to see that across the board when it comes to this fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. When I look at the actual implications in, say, our lives or other parents like my husband and I, getting services and access to services, being a medical parent is really hard. It's very gratifying, it's wonderful, but it can be very hard, and there's a lot of things you're trying to figure out. You're trying to find information, and everybody is trying to help, but the fact of the matter is, if you can't get that diagnosis, you can't get the access. If a child, say, does not qualify exactly for fetal alcohol syndrome, say that particular severity level, say there's other implications though, without that diagnosis, we're left unable to things like get insurance reimbursement for things, durable medical equipment, prescription, incontinence, tube feeding, all of these things, they need to have the backup of, they need to be acknowledged correctly medically. And that's where these terminologies such as this is incredibly important, and it does make a massive difference in lives. From early intervention, certainly, but also just throughout the life of, my daughter's 8 years old. We need to take her over for specialists, neurologists, these kinds of things. And those things need to be, they have to be covered per her diagnosis. And so it also opens us up to family and community support. When we find other parents who have a similar diagnosis or have similar repercussions of poorly written language. So I feel like as a parent, as a family navigator, that language, those tiny little details may seem very small, but they have a massive impact on that child, their siblings, their parents, and throughout the rest of their life. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate it. I did allow that to go on a little bit longer because I know we were waiting on a group of folks who just can't make it today for this to provide testimony on this bill. So I appreciate your taking up the time. Is there anyone else in Carson City who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 137? We're going to go ahead and move to Las Vegas. I see a couple folks there. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Morris, Morris. I am a small business owner in North Las Vegas and president of Nevada Families for FASD Awareness. We are an affiliate of FASD United, which is the national organization of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. But first and foremost, I am a mother of a great number of children, 2 of which have been diagnosed with an FASD. In my role as president of the before-mentioned nonprofit, I hear many pleas for help, mostly from parents and caregivers, but also from parole officers, social workers, from child welfare, and even from friends of individuals with an FASD. They are seeking services, be it therapy, disability programs, respite, etc. I do my best to help them locate these services, but for the most part, they are non-existent. Currently in our state, we have an estimated 154,000 people impacted by an FASD, with possibly over 24,000 of them being children in our school systems. This is a prevalence rate of more than 2.5 times that of autism. Why then does autism have its own page on the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services website, but FASD does not? Why can a child in this state qualify for an IEP with just an autism diagnosis, but a child diagnosed with an FASD cannot? Why does the National Institute of Health recognize FASDs as a developmental disorder, but the state of Nevada does not? Does it come down to money? According to research by FASD United, even at lower prevalence rates, the estimated average annual cost to the state of Nevada for FASD is over $1.9 billion. That's billion with a B. In healthcare, special education, residential care, productivity losses, and correction costs. We are already spending the money. Wouldn't it be better to use those funds for a more positive outcome? What if we use those funds to train professionals to recognize FASD early, to provide early intervention programs, to provide respite to overwhelmed caregivers, to educate our educators? Wouldn't that be a better use of funds? Thank you for your time.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much for your testimony. If you would like to provide testimony, please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Simmons, GEOFFREY. I am 18 years old and I go to Mali Achievement Center for school. I have PFAS or partial fatal alcohol syndrome, but I just say I have an FASD because I have an FASD. I have trouble remembering things. My mom says I was here 4 years ago to talk about FASD, but I don't really remember because I have an FASD. I have trouble controlling my feelings and sometimes get really angry. School is different for me. I go to a special school. I ride this bus. I go to half day. I have to go to school longer to graduate. It's hard to get a job when I have FASD. I work sometimes for my mom's bakery. I get frustrated a lot. I have trouble thinking of what to say. My body is 18, but my brain isn't. I get things mixed up. I don't know what else to say about myself. People with FASD need hope and support. We need love. We need people to understand us. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony and for being continuously involved. We appreciate you being here, even if it's not in your memory bank. We appreciate it. I see more folks coming up to the table in Las Vegas. Please remember to state your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Yes, hi. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Nicole Oakden. That's Oakden. And I am a mother of 5 children, 2 of which who were exposed to alcohol in the womb, one of which is diagnosed with FASD, and one of which we are currently trying to get his diagnosis. As you previously heard from Dr. Beasley and Heather Morris, these individuals with FASD, due to no fault of their own, were innocent victims of prenatal alcohol exposure and will have lifelong disabilities due to this exposure, including physical, behavioral, mental, and learning disabilities. Well, my younger sister was hit by a car when she was 4 years old. That accident caused her to be paralyzed from the neck down, dependent on a ventilator, and dependent basically for everything to live her daily life. Because she was physically disabled, her disability, everyone could see. She received every resource that she needed to live her life for the rest of her 34 years. She passed away a few years ago. She far surpassed the time that she was supposed to live because of the resources she was given. Now I am trying to raise my 2 sons who have a disability, which is unfortunately hidden. They have brain damage to their frontal lobe, but we do not have resources, and every single day of our lives is impacted by this disability. There's just not the adequate time to talk to you about our daily lives and the obstacles that we face each and every single day. To look at them, you would not know they have a disability. They talk normal, they look normal, but every single day is not normal. We have been told by numerous doctors we need certain resources, we need things to help them, but we cannot get them. So unlike my sister, because her disability was visible, she had everything she needed, but we do not. We as parents recognize the road that our children have in front of them. We are aware of the statistics and are determined to do everything that we can do to help our children not be a number. We are finding repeatedly that the treatment and resources that they need are not available to us and not available to them. This is why it is so important that individuals and children with FASD receive this, this change in this bill so that their disability can be recognized as an actual developmental disability. And we plead with you to help support the passage of Assembly Bill 137 so that our children and so many other individuals and caregivers can access the resources that we so desperately need in order for our children to be able to live the best lives that they can. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas who would like to come up to the desk to provide support testimony for Assembly Bill 137? Seeing none, BPS, I'd ask that you check the public line for those who would like to provide support testimony on Assembly Bill 137.
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 137, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 137, please press *9. Caller, you are unmuted on our end. Could you unmute and then you may begin?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Peters. My name is Leanne McAllister, Leann McAllister. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics in strong support of AB 137. I will just say ditto to all of the wonderful testimony that you've heard here today, and I also submit written testimony with links to further information, as well as a video we made for families last spring to better understand this diagnosis. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the testimony. BPS, are there other callers on the line for support of support testimony for AB 137?
Yes, Chair. One moment.
Hello, Chair Peters and members of the committee. My name is Carissa Pierce, CARISSA PEARCE, and I am calling to represent the Children's Advocacy Alliance of Nevada as the Health Policy Manager. I am calling in support of AB 137 to update the NRS language to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. This bill is one of our core bills this session because we believe it is vital that families in Nevada receive services that reflect the current research and interventions in development and mental health. Changing the language to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders reflects the robust spectrum of behaviors and limitations that result from alcohol consumption during pregnancy. There is no safe amount of alcohol that can be consumed during pregnancy, and prenatal exposure to alcohol can lead to a wide array of behavioral and health effects that impact people from infancy into adulthood. Early intervention and treatment is effective to help manage symptoms for children and adults, but these services are currently limited to a narrow definition that only captures a portion of the true population affected by prenatal alcohol exposure. This means that many children are being excluded, unable to get support for health issues completely out of their control. Updating the language encompasses and defines the challenges that children are already experiencing from exposure to alcohol in utero. Further, it is imperative that children in Nevada are correctly identified to guide effective services and interventions. Part of this identification means looking at the full gamut of ways in which children and families are impacted. That means acknowledging that the impact of prenatal exposure to alcohol can be evident as a spectrum of behaviors, physical features, and health outcomes. Updating the language allows for comprehensive screenings to give accurate diagnoses, which allows for early detection and intervention, ultimately improving the likelihood that affected children are able to receive necessary services and live healthier lives. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I ask that you support the passing of AB 137 and make a much-needed change in the lives of our children.
Thank you for the testimony. BPS, are there other callers in support of Assembly Bill 137?
Yes, Chair. Caller with the last three digits, 653, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Peters. This is Dora Martinez again with the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition, and we are in full support of this amazing bill. Thank you to the sponsor, and I would leave you with this quote that is so famous in the disability neighborhood, which is "Nothing about us without us," and we thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there other callers in support of Assembly Bill 137?
Chair, there are no other callers to testify at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and move into opposition testimony. We'll start in Carson City and Las Vegas, and then we'll move to the phone lines. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 137? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 137? Seeing none, BPS, is there anyone on the public line who would like to provide opposition testimony on Assembly Bill 137?
Chair, there are no other callers to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to neutral testimony, and we'll start in Carson City. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 137? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 137? Seeing none, BPS, is there anyone on the public line who would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 137?
Chair, we have no other callers to participate at this time.
Thank you so much. I would like to invite the bill sponsor for closing remarks if you'd like.
Thank you, Chair Peters. For the record, Michelle Gorlo, representing Assembly District 35. I just want to thank everyone who came out to testify in support. I know for many that was quite a challenge to come out, and I truly appreciate them. And I appreciate you, Chair Peters. This was an interim committee bill, so I appreciate you entrusting me with leading this bill. So thank you very much, and look forward to working with everyone and getting your support.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a champion on this bill, on these issues. With that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 137. We are at the last item on our agenda today, public comment. I didn't forget this time. We're going to go ahead and open public comment in their physical locations, and then we will move into our call-in line, public call-in line. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes. Please avoid repetition of comments made by previous speakers. Staff will be timing each speaker during public comment to ensure everyone is given a fair opportunity to speak. Please clearly state and spell your name for the record, and then we will start your time. We will begin with public comment in Carson City. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to provide public comment today? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas who would like to provide public comment today? Seeing none, I'd like to ask BPS to check the public comment line to see if there's anyone on there who'd like to provide public comment today.
Callers, if you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 now. Chair, there are no callers choosing to participate at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and close out the public comment item on our agenda. Before we adjourn, are there any comments from members of the committee? Thank you all for being here today. That concludes our meeting. Our next meeting will be Wednesday the 8th at 1:30 p.m. With that, the meeting is adjourned.